Hello, I'm here with Overdrive and Alex Cat PMC, and this is Mr. Pink and Yellow. And since we're at a turning point with the ideology, we're turning a corner of growth. Our Reddit is growing, our Discord is growing, our blog is growing. We've got our own forum, and there's other plans which I won't talk about just in case they don't follow through. But there's other plans, stuff as well, which I'll talk about when it gets closer to the time for it to be released. Okay, we are turning a corner and we're making stuff to improve the lives of men. Let's put it that way. We're creating a positive pro-male community that doesn't have any misandry at all. That's the whole point of the pro-male collective.
Yes.
So I just want to evaluate the history of the movement. I want to talk to a relative newcomer as well, who's done some very good blog posts, Overdrive. So this is what I'm looking for because I'm not a one-man army. And it was never a one-man thing anyway, because I am linked to the origins of the Promo Collective, and it is my idea to call it the Promo Collective. Okay, but there already was a movement based around my YouTube channel on Google Hangouts. Okay, it was a pro-male community, and it was already sort of like a breakaway from MGTOW. It was a breakaway from the other men's rights. Okay, and a lot of ideas were exchanged between us. And a lot of us were like commenters and viewers of the Black Pill blog, the original Black Pill blog, Omega Virgin Revolt. He helped evolve our ideas. So we are trying to break away from the gravity of the failed men's rights movement, and it's holding us back. And we're like trying to build a rocket ship into escape velocity, right? And we still haven't quite achieved that, but we're getting there. And soon we'll have the multi-stage rocket built, and we will escape from the manosphere, the men's rights movement, and then hopefully eventually replace it.
Yes.
Okay, so it's like a science fiction story. We're going to leave the planet, and then we're going to come back and colonize it later when we're more powerful. So these movements have failed. The men's rights movement, the manosphere, the tradcons, the anti-feminist community. They've failed. They've been defeated. They've been crushed, annihilated. Okay, metaphorically speaking. And we have to learn, evolve, and adapt. And I want to just talk about the ideology, the history of it, and where we've had to go from here to there. Preamble done.
Like, I even remember just in my lurking days finding the Black Pill blog, and that was like the first attempt I found of male advocacy that was getting away from the pull of the manosphere and the
Yes.
tradcons.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, yeah, that was important to my understanding before I really found the Promel Collective.
Yes. And I've noticed something else as well. You still had a lot of red pill types posting on a Black Pill blog as well. So what they do, they sort of like, oh, manosphere unity, right? You all got to be all on the same team, right? And then they try to get you to water your stance down, right? And co-opt you. That's another thing I learned earlier on is you've got to reject these people 100% from the start.
Yes, and the reason why you got the manosphere types in the men's blogs like this is because they're just there to recruit men to
Yes.
to their failed ideology.
Yeah. The thing is, if it gets them a seminar, if it gets them a scam victim, from their point of view, it's not a failure, right? It's just to keep it's an infinity scam, manosphere. That's all it is. So, like white nationalist groups and racist groups and other groups, they fall to affinity scams pretty badly. So, affinity scams is actually a known contact tactic. Like you join a group, often a fringe group that feels marginalised or it is marginalised, so they're more receptive to being conned because they're looking for someone to trust, right? Looking for like, in-group affinity, and the manosphere feels that. It's just an affinity scam in a lot of ways. Like Rush V as well, he was like a real low life, right? So he was selling like chemical hormones on his blog to insecure men who felt they weren't masculine enough. And also he was another crash out fed beta as well, because he so I don't think he's a rapist, but I think he was a rape fantasist. So he wrote all these like these blog entries and diary posts and stories where like he met a woman and basically forced himself on her and raped her, right? Okay, and he did it for shock value. But it's just like romantic rape porn, okay? But it just made men look bad. So he was like the useful idiot that feminists crave. The Manosphere label was a feminist label. The feminists actually came up with first feminist media, and the Manosphere was proud of it and ran with it, right? Because they're idiots. Which is like it's like it's like this weird posturing from weakness. Like you accept their label like a power bottom, but you're trying to go, you, we're going to take your label and shock you with it and trigger you with it, right? Which doesn't lead to it doesn't lead to anywhere. Like you have to be strict. So no, we're not part of we're not in the manosphere. We're not racists. We're not misogynists. We're not incels, right? You reject every single label they give you on principle and on framing as well.
And the manosphere doesn't have framing. They
Yeah,
don't have a coherent ideology.
no. It's evolved and it's gotten worse. Because I've noticed like some manospheres will like make insights and breakthroughs. They'll talk about Brithwood's law, and then they'll forget all about it. Now let me explain what Brithwood's law is. Okay, it's an older MGTOW observation, right? So it's like women will only associate with a man and have a family with him. I'm paraphrasing. If there's any benefit from it, right? Okay, and they'll associate with you on the promise of future benefit, i.e., if you think the man's going to gain status, right? But the less benefit, the more likely he is to leave and break up the family. Okay, that's Brithwood's law,
Yeah.
and it's actually a very important observation. Okay, it's one of the few MGTOW observations we can actually take MGTOW community and the Mansfield community and use it ourselves because I think it's accurate. But I noticed a lot of like people back then will like talk about this and then they'll just completely forget it and still look for that wife or girlfriend who's not like all the others, right? And then they'll act shocked when they got dumped.
It's like men have hold on to this false hope that things are
Yes,
going to be different for them.
yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes. There's a lack of ideological commitment and understanding. And there's another one as well. There's the spearhead, which was the right wing alternative to a voice for men, right? And it is a failure because it's right wing, obviously, and it's full of racists and trad cons. But the author of the Spearhead blog, he got married to a feminist, right? And he took his blog down. So at first he did oh yeah, I'm changing the direction of this blog. There's gonna be no more misogyny, no more extremism, and he did a few more posts, and then he just closed it down as well.
It's very ironic because a lot of what the manosphere says is that, oh, we're red pilled on feminism and women. You know, we're not going to bow to these selfish women.
Yes, stuff like
And
that.
they flake.
And they're flake. And the thing is, just calling it red pill, just understanding something, calling it red pill knowledge is just very kooky and culty. It makes men look like weirdos. And there's another thing as well. The red pill label's used for all sorts of things. It's mostly used for right wing politics and white nationalism now, right? So you don't you're using that label
Yes.
in the first place.
Yes.
So,
We don't want to show that we're related to them, but we also don't want to signal that we invite them to us.
and we don't want to use a weird alienating so they use self-marginalizing language, right? They marginalize themselves, make themselves into a ghetto that no one wants to associate with.
Yes.
Yeah, and the thing is, like the red pill analogy is from a very old movie now, as well. It's like 30 years old, probably. Yeah, it's nearly 30 years old. The Matrix. I think it's like 28 years old. The Matrix movie or something like that. Right. So yeah.
I even remember my first encounter with the manosphere's use of the terms red and blue pill, and it was weird to me. They just took it from the Matrix movie,
Yes.
like, and acted like it was real.
Yes. And the thing is, the ironic thing is, the Matrix is actually a Marxist analogy anyway. Right. It's about class relations. They're too stupid to understand that, even though they're right wingers. So. Override. So when did you discover the Promo Collective? Like, what's your history of it?
Well, my first time coming across the Promo Collective was actually from City Crusher from a start. Shortly after I found your channel. So I'd say this was probably about 2 to 3 years ago. And this was so this is not the exact time when I first came across the PMC, but there was a time when City Crusher had a bit of a collision with Undead Chronic, and I just saw the difference in attitude when discussing topics. One group was laughing, not taking anything seriously, never was. Was routinely falling for like back and forth with like racist talking points and stuff. And the other had the audacity to, in my eyes, properly characterize issues where men were recipient to abuse.
Like,
which is language that red pill spaces and even to an extent black pill spaces don't properly have. They don't have
Yes.
that language.
They talk about individual solutions and gaming the
Mm,
system a lot as well. I've noticed that. Here's another thing. So what you're talking about there is correct framing,
yeah,
superior framing to inferior framing.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, so carry on talking about how you discovered the PMC. Sorry.
Oh yeah. So I'd say the so that was when I was first sort of introduced to the PMC, but when I really realized that there's an essential element in the PMC that just isn't present in other movements really was with Palestine. So there is a reality that has happened that with something like the genocide going on now, all of these movements, these spaces, they don't have principles. So if something happens and it's not seen as some weird, sordid, I don't know what's the proper word, some strange, convoluted way of being, if it's not counterculture to them, it's not for them. If it doesn't outrage women, it's not for them. So with Palestine, it's just, oh, they see a lot of women being pro-Palestine nominally anyway. They just go, oh, it's not based, and they
Yes.
just come up with a bunch of stupid reasonings. Yeah, Asmongold was a big showcase of that, in my opinion. I always disliked him. I just never understood why anybody saw him as pro-male. He routinely snuck in feminist talking points all the time, years back, when he talked about Amber Heard, for example, with the
Yes.
trial. Every few videos, he was just saying, actually, guys, false rape allegations are a fraction of a fraction. He just
Yes.
kept going,
Yes.
right? He just rode off that wave.
Yes.
And I'm sorry for this, but just as a minor point, it's been a good number of years since then. And what has happened with Emiru and Miskif? False rape allegation. And he supports it,
Yes.
right? He does this all the time. He did this with Brooke George recently, who's an influencer in UAE, who murdered their boyfriend in UAE, and she might stand trial.
Yes.
And now they're saying, oh, that's unfair. She might have been abused.
Yes.
Same group,
Yes.
because they have no principles.
Yes.
So yeah, the PMC does have principles, and your video in particular, Pink, when you said that Asmongold is pro genocide and you need to have principles. You can't just say, oh, we're anti woke. Like
Yes.
when it's something nebulous, when something that's not clearly defined, it's not something to stand by. You just randomly call things woke, and now you're in this room now. Now you say that what's happening in Palestine is actually kind of based. And even when you look at the space right now, the general space, the Asmongold space, the Groiper space, they're completely fragmented, just
Yes.
fighting each other over nonsense.
Yes.
Right.
Can I make an observation as well?
Yeah.
Okay. It's Asmongold is what you call a right-wing opportunist. So he talked about Amber Heard issue to gain clout and gain traction, but he does. He's not. He doesn't care about it, and he's got no ideological understanding to frame it correctly anyway. 'Cause he's anti-male, right? So
Yeah.
it's like to him at the most, it's like it's one freak occurrence of a male celebrity who's base getting run through the ringer by a crazy woman, a Karen. He doesn't look at it systematically. It's a systematic issue because if it was just one crazy woman, right, getting away with it in court, that'd just be an antidote one-off story. But it's like a crazy abusive woman who got away with it, right, because the system backed her and the feminist media backed her and told lies about what happened, and it was a false narrative. Like she was a crazy person who cut off part of his finger and shat on his bed, right, and bragged about abusing him in a voice recording openly and getting to get away with it because she's a woman, right?
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah. Regarding that, like, this is another thing. I haven't really like made a post about it, but I've been planning to, which is that court cases are not one-offs.
Yes.
Court cases are an amalgamation of various systems making judgments for over a course of multiple days, usually months, sometimes years. And that's not a one-off anyway, right? Like the various people that even congregated for that case, the
Yes.
psychologist who was clearly a feminist, framing abuse victims as female.
Yes.
She used gendered language. And here's another point about Asmongold. It was just a few weeks after that case had reached its conclusion, and he got rid of a friend of his called Rich Campbell,
Mhm.
who got accused of rape,
Yes.
stealthing, and he
Yes.
just completely annihilated him. He removed him from OTK. That case has been dropped years later. He doesn't address it. He doesn't give justice to it.
He's a
He just keeps
psychopath.
moving on. Yeah.
It's a psychopath. Yes, he's got no principles. So like men like that have to be called out and shunned, right?
Yeah.
So he's just a right wing opportunist and psychopath.
Yes. Like,
That's not actually far fetched either, because
Yeah.
I've actually seen footage recently. I didn't know this, but yeah, he actually is. He does show some signs of being an actual psychopath, actually, with the way he describes interacting with people or stuff like that. And his father was apparently actually diagnosed as one. I didn't know this.
Right. Yes.
but it reminds me of what I want from the pro-male ideology. It's an alternative to these psychopaths who just support feminism's attack on men.
Yes.
So people look at Asmongold because he does these like constant replies to things of the day or the week. So he does all these replies to Karens of the week or some insane feminist of the week. And
Yeah.
people think Asmongold is so great and epically winning. But
Yes.
they don't look at his whole resume, which is that he
Yes.
supports Me Too against
Yes.
men.
But let's be fair. A lot of these right wing fans don't care because they support Me Too.
Yeah.
Right, because we have noticed that, like, especially when it comes to American Party politics, there seems to be a hypocrisy at the core of it. If you believe all women is an insane stance to have, but if you believe all women, you have to be consistent with it, or you're a hypocrite. So the Democrats, when the Republicans falsely accuse, they believe it. When their own's falsely accused, they ignore it. And it's the same for Republicans. When one of their own's falsely accused, they ignore it. But when Democrats falsely accused, they believe it. So they've got zero principles
Yes.
in regards to that.
Yes. Like,
And again, it's the same with the Palestinian movement as well. Like, they didn't believe accusations against Palestinian men of mass rape, right? But then it's full of feminists who are into Me Too and have kill all men in the hashtag. Like, Badin Pananda is a scumbag, right? It's a shame because he's actually very good politically in his narrow lane. He's very intelligent, I can tell.
Yes.
Right, but he's a complete fucking scumbag because he allows not just for saying that circumcision is base, but he allows radical feminists with kill all men hashtags in his community. Right,
Yes.
so you have radical feminists with pro-Palestinian flags, right, and then you'll have kill all men hashtags.
Yeah.
Right? It's completely psychopathic, and a complete contradiction as well.
they said they support mandatory circumcision or mandatory
Yeah.
castration.
Yes, you go circumcision is based. Literally, that should be a political position where I want that to be a political position. Like, it's dangerous to say in public or on the internet, right? To be
Yeah.
honest, like you shouldn't feel safe about being so openly child abuse.
Especially needs to be a position that tars the political left as
Yeah.
irredeemable if they don't
Yes,
cut it out.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Regarding that, that having those two positions, being pro-Palestine and saying kill all men, it in my eyes it's quite dark, because when you look at what UN functionally has operated as, it's been trying to funnel relief specifically to women and girls.
which is structural violence.
Yeah,
So-
even in the with what they did with Russia, what they've done with Russia was similar in how, in their framing, in their language, in how they moralize women, and they just erase men functionally in their analysis.
Noam Chomsky talked about it. The unpeople, right?
Yeah.
People don't care about them at all, so they're not mentioned in the narrative. Like when America goes to war, they talk about American victims of the war, but they're not the real victims, the countries that get invaded and attacked.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
so men are like that. The non-people, non-victims, the unpeople.
The worthy victims and unworthy victims.
Yes,
That's
Yeah.
his term.
yes. So men fit in that criteria. Do you know, I emailed Noam Chomsky to try and get an interview with him because he interviewed small obscure people. He agreed to interviews. And I just gave it a shot. And he was a fucking feminist, right? He told me to look in the mirror and reflect, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Even
He
Chomsky.
he had a talking point with regards to Epstein.
Yes.
He said that now there's a with regards to Epstein, he himself had a talking point where he said, we have a culture now where people jump at men with regards to these little accusations. Well, that's kind of a result of his own actions too.
Yes.
Given his reach, his power, his influence,
Yes.
and his attitude.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's like,
So let's talk about more your early interaction. So you discovered the Promo Collective and you saw it had superior framing. So
Yes.
how long did you observe the Promo Collective before speaking or interacting with us? Like, when did you
I'd
first
s-
interact with us?
I'd say okay, so the first interactions were always just through YouTube comments. Yeah. I think just the provocative subject matters that were always brought about. There were things that I never thought about. So, with regards, for example, how when it comes to victimization of gay people, it's just it's disproportionately gay men,
Yes.
like stuff like that. Or one thing that struck to me was lynchings. So this very, it's almost it's really quite feels quite embarrassing to admit, but the nature of what lynchings are as a crime, as an act, never like came to me organically. I didn't realize that it was like fully male centered
Yes.
about mutilating a man.
Yes.
And yeah, so stuff like that really got me like actually shocked because there's a lot of things, and I think the fact that PMC is actually quite has some history kind of reflects that that there have been things that have actually been thought about, and that's why whenever here's another big thing, it's when you adopt something like a red pill ideology, there are a lot of times where you're left shocked. You feel like you've been left with your pants down.
Yes.
I feel the same way with the black pill ideology, but the PMC doesn't have that.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's that. So back to the question. My first time interacting with PMC was through YouTube comments.
Yes.
Eventually, it was through the Reddit.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the pipeline basically for me.
So it's very important because I've noticed when I deal with newcomers and they don't have much exposure to us, we sort of speak past each other because they don't understand our ideology, don't have exposure to it, and some of them can be educated, but a lot of them are hopeless cases. But I always think it's better that people actually observe us and study us on
Yeah,
YouTube before interacting with us because if they got time to come across our new worldview, then internalize it, right? I think
yeah,
they're going to be more receptive to it because we are a new ideology and we are actually incompatible with most other groups and movements, unfortunately. It's just the way it is. Like someone's under the delusion that I don't know much about Alistair. Like, Alistair was pro-male and he was receptive to talk with us. It was completely incompatible, basically. Because I don't think he's actually a Marxist. I think he was a right-wing opportunist, just talking about male issues because he's got a deselected angry male audience in his Discord that he's pandering to. Right, so it was complete. So we just spoke past each other, and it was completely incompatible, and he was not pro male whatsoever.
yeah.
He didn't have the correct framing. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a bit shocked at like why we were even talking to this person. Because looking through his channel, he just he looked directionless, right?
Yes.
And that's a fundamental problem.
Yes.
It's maybe a little pedantic, but even like our logo, it implies some sort of direction. Just
Yes.
the way it's there. I mean, having a logo in the first place, right? It's a
Yes.
big thing versus like a pill
Yes.
or whatever Alistair's group is. It just
Yes.
feels yeah.
Here's another thing I noticed because there's factionalists who break away and want to do their own thing out of ego. What they always do, they always make their own version of the flag or an own logo to show us, and then they get bored and they just drop out.
Yes.
It happens. So the thing is, I want a consistent logo and I want it to be PMC logo, not just due to my ego, right? Okay, it's because you need something consistent anyway,
Yeah.
right? They're like men have got to stop chopping and changing. You just need to be consistent.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need a recognizable logo. I want the PMC flag to be as recognizable as the Soviet flag before
Yes.
I die. I want to see it waved in the streets, basically. I want to see like PragerU videos, like doing attack videos in the PMC, saying how evil we are. Going, the PMC killed over 100 million, something like that.
So,
Unfortunately, I think PragerU is kind of dead. I
Yes,
think. Yeah.
yes, yeah. Well, they're astroturfed, aren't they? They're just funded by rich people to pump out
Yeah.
free market propaganda. So
Yeah.
yes. So, okay, any more questions, or shall we look at some
so
articles?
so what? So you obviously the PMC appeals to you. You've contributed to it. So what would you say makes it better than other movements that you've encountered?
Yes. Definitely. It so back to the Asmongold situation when he said what he said about Palestine. It really made me realize that you can't really, as men, you can't really compromise.
Yes.
So before I met the PMC, to be honest, I was just floating across various groups, and I'm not proud of it, but there are some times when I would, it was pretty often I would just sometimes just explode at people, right? Or
Yes.
like say in comment sections, Reddits for one. I'd loved getting banned from nonsensical threads because they would appeal to one side, some issues, and then just be complete psychopaths in others.
Yes.
Right. So that's what it feels like to be in these other groups, because they might be pro-Palestine, but they have kill all men. Like, what type of
Yes.
person even engages in that? But then you have, well, what about the other side? What do we have? We'll have people like Under Chronic talking about, what did Palestine ever do for me? It's like,
Yes.
it doesn't cost you anything
Yes.
to just have some basic respect for human life.
Yeah.
Like,
At the very most, don't speak on the issue at all.
yeah.
Basically, if you're a psychopath, just shut your mouth. That's my
Yeah,
stance.
exactly. I would have preferred that. I would have been like, just shut up. You don't need to talk about it. You don't know the issue. It's okay. It's
Yes.
okay.
Like
Right?
for example, Ukraine war issue, because I used to follow geopolitics, right, and then I stopped like years ago because it was depressing, right. And when the Ukraine war started again, I didn't really form an opinion until I researched it again. I sort of knew what was up because I know the pattern of behavior of the USA, but I didn't know much about Ukraine and Russia's relationship. So it might have been like Ukraine's actually innocent, but they're just happening to allow the USA out of desperation. But I did some research. Nope, I know who's in the wrong and I know who's in the right. Right. So, but when I don't know about anything, I'm very careful to judge. Like, I don't judge on the Indian-Pakistan question, right? Because I know they've got a conflict, and I've got my suspicions who's in the right and who's in the wrong, but I won't make definite statements because I don't know, right? Because I'm ignorant on the subject, so I'm not qualified to talk. Like, people need to know when they're not qualified to talk on subjects, in my opinion, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and I just want to point out one thing as well. We recently banned someone who was pro-male for supporting the genocide of Palestinians, right? He was quite a long-time contributor, but we just gave him the boot because, again, we demand ethical consistency. There's some things you can have a different opinion on. It's all subjective. You've got a different judgment on something, but there's certain things that you have to agree with us on lockstep, or you're out. And we're against genocide, period, of any group. Right, so let's say hypothetically in 20 years' time, like, the Israelis lost and they're all getting genocide is somehow by some other group. I won't support that, right?
Right.
Because I'm ethically consistent. But the Nazis were bad. We smashed the Nazis and defeated them. We didn't round them up and genocide them afterwards.
Right.
Retribution. So again, there's certain positions if you don't hold them, you're inconsistent. Like child support. Like we had someone who sort of tried joining us, hanging around with us, that we had to boot. I won't say who it is, but I think you know who it is, right? Okay. And the thing is, he was pro child support, and in the future, I'm going to go. We're going to educate you on why child support's wrong, and you're not receptive to education. You have to leave because support or child support is just support of slavery. Period.
Yeah.
And again, I've explained it's fixing a problem that never was, like fathers abandoning their children. That wasn't really a common thing. It was very, very rare. Men who did it were considered scum. Right, men don't want to abandon their families. They're driven away from their families. So, family court drives them away from men from their families. They blame men for fatherlessness, and they double down with even more family court, which drives men away even more. Really frustrating, and it's evil as well.
Yes.
Yeah, Yeah, the black community has this major problem where the framing,
Yes.
even internally, is just the black man just, always abandons the kids. And they'll
Yes.
even show, and it just arises like when you have a foundation that's wrong, and well, it's not just wrong, right? It's
Evil. It's
yeah,
gaslight.
exactly. It's painting men as evil, and then
Yes.
it uses that to just proliferate so many other messages that are hinged on that, and that's really really frustrating. So
Yes.
black men will adopt this and say, this is what it's like to be responsible as a father. It's like, well, what is
Yes.
that? What do you mean? Why are
How
you
do you
using
think?
that subtext?
Yes.
You
Like
know?
you can't be. If the woman wants you gone, you can't be responsible as a father. You're gone. You have no say. So any father involved in their children's lives is just lucky.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Period. They don't get a say in it. So
I
And yeah, and there's no acknowledgement of that dynamic even.
yes.
So even though he is a Zionist, Thomas Sowell has talked about this before. He
Yes.
said that when if you give families an incentive, a monetary incentive to break up, the father will leave so that their parents could have more money. That's not the dynamic.
Yes.
The man is booted out.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
So if you don't acknowledge that mechanism, you don't acknowledge that underlying thing about families,
Yes.
you'll never solve any problems,
Can I,
and
can I,
men will never have a better life
and I want to point
yeah.
something out as well because I've noticed because I've hung around with right wingers on Discord because I want to study them. Right,
Mm.
I was in Obersoy's Discord group just out of interest, and they're not, most of them are normally anti-feminist. But the thing is, they got incorrect framing because they're right wing, so they believe in R and K selection theory, and because of R and K selection, men care about their kids less than women. Right, and women, and they believe that women sniff out inferior genes, and you deselected, you deserve to be deselected. And women's selection
Right.
criteria is always correct, right? And women care about parental investment more, which is just not true.
It's not
Right, so
true.
they got these like pseudo-scientific biological reductionist nonsense. It's just not true.
And the reason why they even arrived at that nonsense is I do believe this is because every time there's some public outcry about some group of people or some male celebrity, for example, there is always almost an immediate reaction where people say, oh, this group, they're deselected, or like women would never like these people, or it reinforces this idea that if you're a bad person, women would have already sniffed you out because their selection criteria is something serious, is something legitimate,
Yes,
or that maintains the race, which it doesn't. And
yes,
that actually kind of goes back into like this obsession with maintaining the white race and stuff like that.
yes,
Because if you looked at really quickly, if you don't mind, if you look at someone like Elon Musk, how many children does he have? 14, 15 kids.
yeah,
And then if you compare that with the person that the name of his company is acknowledging, Nikola
yes,
Tesla, he
yes,
died a virgin,
yes,
0 kids, right?
yes,
The person who took from him, from his
yes,
ideas, Thomas Edison, had 6 kids from 2 women.
yes,
That's your white race, you
yes.
know.
And again, as I
Yeah.
said, I say this to smash their false framing. The white racists don't care about the white race. They just want to kill
Yeah.
brown skinned people. I mean that literally, because
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
eyes glaze over when you point out like real problems that their societies face. Right? They just don't care deep down. So that's why
Yes.
I reject them completely. Yes.
Yeah, so to that point, like what's another one? I remember you pointing out how white supremacists, they don't actually see like single mothers as a problem.
Yes.
I can give a quick example to that. There was like some video fear mongering about Jews in New York, because they were saying, oh, they're having like 15 kids, right?
Yes.
And who's paying for these kids? And
Yes.
the person, I think it was Tyler or somebody, or some right wing content creator who does like the interview. I'm just asking questions, right? So he went into that space, and his commentary was very illuminating because he said, I'd rather that money, instead of going to these people who don't work, I'd rather give it to single mothers.
Yes. What a
Yeah.
scumbag!
Yeah.
Actually, what a scumbag! So he's paying to push fathers away. What a scumbag!
Yeah.
I was raised
That's
by a
his
single
priority.
mother. I was raised by a single mother, so I'm qualified to say this. Anyone who supports single mothers is scum. absolute scum. Like even
Yeah.
black nationalists support single mothers. Like the
Yes.
black nationalist party in
Yeah.
America who get really prosecuted by the state, right? They
Yes.
do like breakfast programs for single mothers. Like
Yes.
literally, you're feeding your own oppressor because the biggest oppressor of men are single mothers. In my
Yeah.
opinion, that's the
I,
core dynamic of male oppression and black oppression as well.
I especially hate.
I
Yeah, I
yeah, you
hate.
go
I
first.
hate their moral authority. It's
Yes,
completely fake because they
yes,
cause
Yes.
damage. They don't protect. Well,
yes,
yes,
They do it in retrospect. So if a black mother is seen beating their child, the comments will be, "Oh no, look at this black woman, doing what a parent needs to do."
yes.
Because this child was being a delinquent or something. I don't know what they did. Maybe they skipped school, so now they come up to this
They
child and
didn't.
then they beat them publicly.
Yeah, or they just do it at random as well.
Yeah,
Trust me. Yeah, it's just random. Yes,
and also in the first place, like you wouldn't need to do that, right?
yes,
But they just like to see that act. They think
yes,
that's parenting, and the black community legitimately has this issue. There'll be people who might have, I don't know, compared to a white supremacist, better framing, and then immediately when it comes to like they'll talk about all these things. I forget this person's name. There was this one guy, decently good looking, as like a bald dude
yeah,
who's black, and he talks about a lot of issues, and then all of a sudden his program is, oh, I care about families, so I raise funds for single mothers. Like that's the
yes,
problem.
yes.
That's the problem.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
So we got some links to look at. Shall we look at
yeah,
the WordPress blog?
sure.
Because so I think this is from the word. Yeah.
So
We'll look at the Black Pill blog as well because that's the
yes,
history. Let's look at the Black Pill blog first because I want to go in chronological order.
yes. So
Okay, so
black.
anyway, because
Yeah.
I'll go ahead. Sorry, so I was very aimless even when I had my first YouTube channel. Right, I had a MGTOW name or something. I can't remember what it was, but anyway, I had an old channel, right, which I took down years ago, and I was very aimless. And I talked about my personal stuff a lot, which is a complete waste of time. I will talk about personal stuff, but in a very limited context. I think if it adds insight or if it's to do like a breakthrough in my understanding of things. But I want to keep it systematic as possible. So I had very
Mm.
bad framing. And I was interested in men's rights, and there was a problem with it, like a voice for men. They did so many things stupid and so many things wrong. That could be an entire novel on itself. I
Mm.
worshipped Karen Strawn, Girl Writes What.
Yes.
Actually, I was in
Right.
love with
Right.
her, sort. like a, anyway, she's very problematic though. But anyway, then I discovered this blog, the Black Pill blog. It used to be called Virgin and Mega Revolt, but I didn't follow it back then. I think I've started following it when it was called the Black Pill blog, and it was called the Black Pill blog because it's meant to be a rational alternative to the Red Pill. Okay, so here's the byline: freedom from the gynocracy. We rejected gynocentric theory. We don't believe in that in Promo Collective. I have to do another video on that, re-explaining that. Okay, so so he's made progress, but we've evolved past it. We're the evolution of the failed MGTOW men's rights movement, right? Okay, so this guy didn't really create a movement, to be honest. He just had a blog. He wasn't big enough, but it goes, there's no personal solution to systematic problems, and feminism women is a systematic problem. And that's a very important thing to understand because just looking at individual issues or having systematic oppression that you face as a man framed as just your own personal hang-up that you need to fix is reinforcing the oppression, and it's a solipsistic understanding that won't fix anything anyway, right? One person on their own can't fix society. A bunch of people maybe can sway society. That's the difference. It takes collective action. Feminism is a collective movement. They don't just individually change things. They organize it, organized, right? And they may be evil, but they've actually earned their power by working for it, right? And organizing. They've taken over the state power by organizing, not politics, not electioneering, organizing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've been defeated by them. So
Yes.
this was a massive breakthrough, and this sort of made me give up on MGTOW as well, right? I was always sort of against it. I saw problems with it, okay, but this helped evolve my understanding, and then I made a YouTube channel, and there was just I think it was just Pro Mel, that's it, or something like that, or one, I can't remember my early name. There was like a fan channel on Google Hangouts, and I joined people there and started speaking with them, and City Crusher was a part of it, right? And he was actually the first person I was encouraging other people to make videos, and no one really did for a while. But City Crusher was the first one to go, yeah, I'll start making videos then, right?
Mm.
And then when he made his first video, which isn't up anymore, which is a shame because he wasn't happy with the quality of it, because I actually think it's very good, right? Okay, he was talking about HB Love Class. He says, wow, it's very satisfying, like having your own voice and speaking and having people listen to it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that was basically the start of the Pro Collective. Once, and we had Pro Revolutionary, we had Pro Vanguard, a few others, and it snowballed from there actually. And then we had a split. I'm trying to remember it because a lot of this is not written down. It's like on Discord groups and forums that are gone now. But we had a split. Okay, I think we've had two splits, but we've recovered from them and we've come back stronger each time. And factionalism. But the first split, I was tolerating a lot of weird behaviour, right? Okay, like there was I won't name his name because he's gonna be naming and shaming. He can't defend himself. But there was a prominent member who was an anti-natalist and supported abortion because of
Mm.
it, right? And he supported the right of women to kill their newborn infants as well.
Right.
It's because of anti-natalism. And I thought, like, now I'm ashamed that I was angry, right? Don't get me wrong. I thought it was disgusting, but I didn't ban him because he was a friend. If that happened now, I'll just like get rid of him. To be honest, right? I'll get rid of him. Like, if you just suddenly turned around and said it, I'd get rid of you.
Right.
Right? And if I turned around and said that, I'd expect the community to get rid of me. Otherwise, it'd be a cult. If I just suddenly lost my mind and started supporting abortion and infanticide, I'd want the community to get rid of me if I went nuts, right? Because I want everyone to be held to the same standards.
To be
So,
completely honest, like
yes,
when I was younger, the very first one of the earliest things that made me start thinking about gendered issues.
yes,
Um, I thought that I was considered right wing because I was
yes,
anti-abortion. This is
yes,
very young, and that
yes,
actually, in my eyes, led me astray when I was a
yes.
lot younger. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I was sort of guilted into supporting pro-choice, even though I was instinctively against it. I knew it was wrong, but I was guilted in supporting it with manipulative feminine
Mm.
arguments. That was when I felt the body autonomy argument and the raped women,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but then I saw past it. The thing is, there's some things like my mum told me about family court and why it has to favour women. I saw past that right away. Instantly, I knew she was lying, even from the age of 10. So there's some stuff I
Mm.
could instinctively see past right away. I knew it was lies and bullshit. But other stuff I feel victim to,
Yeah.
right? Because I thought feminism was left wing, and I had to support feminism because of that. Unfortunately, so that made me interested in right wing politics. But I saw right wing politics for the shit it was, because I already had a decent political understanding, right? So yeah.
Yes. I mean,
But anyway,
yeah.
Sorry, you go ahead.
Uh, I personally knew men were getting attacked, and the left
Yeah.
weren't doing anything about it. They were still
Yes.
just all about women. It's
Yes.
like men were still getting attacked for breaking away from their role, and
Yes.
never really get to do it. So I had
Yes.
a personal interest in just studying right wing thought and ideology. That's why I
Yeah.
studied the Manosphere. I wanted to understand where they were coming from and how they were
Yes.
selling their traditionalism to men.
Yes.
Spoiler alert, they don't really sell it to men. They kind of just
Yes.
shame men into it.
Yes.
And then
So,
yeah.
yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Then
Continue.
I eventually discovered the Black Pill blog. He was the
Yes.
first men's issue blog I came across to really debunk the manosphere and traditionalism. In a
There's actually a post I want to look at.
yes.
It's all right. So let's look at why do I care about gamers, conspiracy theorists.
All right. Okay. Do I have it loaded?
Yes, because this is very.
Okay.
Right, this is way back. Machine. The blog's gone. So as long as we can just read it.
So
Why do I? Can you zoom it in a bit? I want to read it. I get asked from time to time why I spend so much time on gamers, conspiracy theorists, paleo dieters. That's meat only diet, which is just as bad as veganism, etc. Here's my latest example of this. Why the hostility towards gamers? If you think they are worthless and not getting laid, he's not talking about video gamers. He's talking about game theory POA pickup artists. It's called game, right? So it's in that context, so you don't get confused. He's talking about POA. If you think they're worthless and not getting laid, why not just move along? So that's basically he's being told you're criticizing a false ideology. Just move along. That means just stay silent on it. Attention whore, better who doesn't like getting called beta. I really don't get it. I could give a shit what you think, but I'm curious. Now I've responded onto your blog. So he doesn't give a shit what you think, but he's curious. That's a contradiction.
Yes.
Here's the correct answer. There's only one reason I care about any of these lunatics. They're invading the men's rights movement. That's it. I'm opposed to the white supremacists invading the MRM for the same reason. The only reason that I know that there is something called game, much less Rosietic game. There's a different subfaction of games, of game theory, which is weird and wonky. Or something called the Paleo is because these lunatics invaded the MRM, and the rest of the men's rights movement didn't put barriers and gatekeep. They got destroyed. They don't exist anymore because of this. There's a direct link between them not existing, right? We need a strong, firm ideology for this ideology to survive. Because if we don't have it, it'll die. It'll get contaminated and taken over. Obviously, I was aware of conspiracy theorists before my involvement with the MRM. I would not have searched them out or even came up with the idea so insane to be able to search them out. Scroll down, please.
Yes.
When it comes to conspiracy theorists, I have seen them invade other online communities, so I know the results of their invasion. This is a very important thing about gatekeeping. Right, I'm going to have to do another video on this just to remind people. I've seen forums and blogs go on subjects ranging from aviation to video games get ruined by conspiracy theorists who decided to invade them. Razor Blade Candy had his own forum, men's rights forum, and he opened up sub forums for the conspiracy theorists to talk because he was a free speech motherfucker, and it died out, right? Because they didn't care about men's rights. So he was just pandering to people who don't care about what you care about. In the end, people came to the forum or the blog for aviation, video games, or whatever the actual subject was. Eventually left. They got tired of arguing against conspiracy theorists, because they drive people away. When enough sane people leave, these blogs and forums get ceded to conspiracy theorists. Are annoying there are other forums for subjects like video games and aviation. However, there is only one MRM, which is the PMC right now, because the old MRM's dead. So if we lose it to conspiracy theorists, it's gone forever. We must fight for the MRM against the conspiracy theorists and anyone else who's invading the MRM. Gamers, conspiracy theorists, paleo dieters, I'll call it a lot of them Epstein nutters now, etc., also contribute nothing to the MRM except problems. There is no benefit to their presence in the MRM. They do not do anything to further the cause for men's rights. This is not surprising, as they have problems holding down jobs and just leaving their houses, right? They don't even actually believe in men's rights. They're invading the MRM to look for chumps to run their scams on. That's it. Their presence in the MRM causes huge problems. They push out sane anti-feminist men and give ammo to the enemies of the MRM by tying it down with insane ideas that have no relevance to the MRM, like racism and conspiracy theory. These people are useless and have an albatross around the MRM neck. They're more of them we push out the MRM, the better. So I was really, really strong on gatekeeping from the start because of this, right? So I read this blog, he pointed out the problems, and I learnt from them. And I created an ideology partly based on this, right? Marxists gatekeep, right? And so do other political groups gatekeep. I've noticed that whenever the question of why I care about gamers, conspiracy theorists, the paleo diet, etc. comes up, there's always an attempt to paint me or anyone else against them as irrationally hostile and angry and attacking them for no reason. Like above, I asked why don't I move along? The gamers, conspiracy theorists, paleo diets, etc. are like burglars who break into your home. And when you realise your house has been broken into, you get your gun and you find the burglars and order them to leave. But they respond with, why are you so hostile? We haven't done anything to you. Why are you pointing a loaded gun at us? That's equivalent of the invader behaviour. They're just burglars who are trying to rob the MRM's house. I can't just move along just as I refuse to give up my house to the burglars. Scroll down, please.
Yes.
Sorry, what you say
So
something.
this shows something. If you're going to gatekeep against the lunatic invaders, you got to be psychologically strong and have a constitution, because they will shame you out of it doing that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I want to see the MRM succeed. The only way for the MRM to succeed is to get rid of gamers, conspiracy theorists, paleo dieters, white supremacists, and anyone else invading the MRM to run a scam. It's all invaders would leave the MRM alone. I wouldn't talk about them anymore and move on to other ways to advance men's rights. And you can't move on to other ways to advance men's rights because you don't deal with the invader problem. You don't have a healthy community. You can't go anywhere.
Yes.
Right? You don't have an army. You can't fight the campaigns and battles with an army. So the whole point of the Pro Male Collective was to clean house and create a healthy community that was pro male. And we're turning a corner. And there's like lots of nutcases, a lot of infiltrators, a lot of weirdos that we had to deal with. Right, and we had to just get stricter and stricter, and it got to a certain point. It was so strict, we got the healthy growth that we've been craving for years now.
Yes. I was there for years. Men with all of their fringe problems coming to us. It's like
Yes.
because they want to be heard, and they would just shame us if we told them to knock it off.
A lot of them were single issue people as well, because I noticed there's a lot of, especially child support attracts a lot of single issue misandrists. I call them single issue misandrists. So they even pro child support. They just so no, it's just too hard on me. I'm the good, productive, obedient man, but black men get away with not paying child support, which is a lie, by the way. It's bullshit.
Right.
But they're single issue misandrists, right? That we had to couldn't tolerate. So yeah, again, we're a holistic movement. Like a lot of the issues that we tackle don't affect me personally. I'm not circumcised, so that's not an issue that affects me personally. I'm still disgusted by it. I'm not affected by Palestine. Right, that's
Yeah.
another example. I'm still disgusted by it. I'm not affected by imperialism. I actually indirectly benefit from imperialism. I get a benefit from it for far less than a lot of other people, but I still benefit from it materially. But I'm still against imperialism on principle. Okay, so a lot of men's rights issues I'm against, even though it won't affect me. Right, I'm never gonna get drafted. I'm too old. Right, okay, I'm against the draft just on solidarity because I'm not a psychopath.
And
We look at the WordPress blog now.
yeah, what I notice is people shame men for having a stance on issues if they don't personally affect them. Even though, like, you can't have a stance on an issue just on principle and your ethics.
Yeah, and then another thing is like, even if they don't personally affect you, they're related,
Yeah.
right? So that's the core of it, because you have principles.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's holistic as well. Okay, so let's look at the WordPress blog. So
Yeah. Here we go.
I find this interesting because I'm actually the one who didn't write this. So I
No.
influenced someone else, but it's you can see the evolution of the Black Pill blog's ideas because we had discussions and talks and we developed our ideology, right? So
So you can.
I'll let you read this one. You can read this one. You can take.
Here we go. I do remember. I think Promel Vanguard wrote this. So on Promel collectivism. So
I'll be back in a minute. Carry on. I'll be 2 minutes.
So when ants get infected by endoparasitoid fungi known as cordyceps, other ants are willing to discard him because nature doesn't care about feelings. They do so for the colony's survival. They know that they can't help the infected and know that his presence puts entire colony in jeopardy. So, yeah, same principle applies to Promel spaces. If we tolerate conspiracy theorists, other derailers, and obsessive people in general in our spaces will be ruined. When I started uploading videos on this channel, I did so out of my desire to help informing pro-male community and attracting pro-male men willing to work and share ideas together to further the pro-male cause. I think there's grammatical errors in this, could be touched up, but regardless. I really want men to get fair treatment, to defend and promote their rights, and I'm willing to use all the available tools in order to achieve this goal. I'm not here to promote male utility. Men are already seen as plow horses instead of the human beings they deserve to be. Men need to stop playing heroes and stop seeing themselves as utility that only exists to serve the system and the women. If men want to be treated as people, then they need to start acting as people, to collectively fight for their rights and better treatment and make that a priority. I'm not here to promote altruism and give you a pat on the back for thinking that you're the hero and not the sacrificial animal. If you ask me, well, what about the system? My only response would be, well, does the system, that same system that you care so much about, does it care about you? Does that system value and acknowledges your humanity instead of treating you like a disposable cog in a machine? To borrow the metaphor from my first video, men are paddling on the boat where women not only get to leave first, but are also exempt from paddling as well. And I don't have an intent to paddle unless women start to paddle as well and stop getting the special treatment and amount of real men appraisal or pussy promises will get me to start paddling. I'm willing to burn all the bridges from anti-male system and start demanding equality, and I don't care to sustain such system that is unjust towards men. If it's unjust towards men, then I have no loyalty towards it. It's not a men's duty to serve such system. Serving unjust system is perpetuating and promoting injustice in self, and one should actively oppose and stop serving such a system. The only ideology I'm here to serve is the pro-male one. So I've just got some thoughts at this point, because I think what we're dealing with is men who don't really care about seeing themselves as human beings. They
Yes.
see themselves as trying to get on top of a hierarchy over other men.
Yes.
So they're all for the performance that ends up dehumanizing them. Because
I know something as well. There's like these weird men's rights activists or trad cons or nationalists. They say, "Oh yeah, but you can't be against the draft because it counts on men and society will collapse. Oh, men have to still marry women, otherwise society collapse, right? Oh, men still have to pay child support, right? It just goes too far, but it still needs to be there because the society will collapse. So they'll make appeals on utility to the nation, and he's basically going, no, I'm not going to support the anti-male system no matter what. I'm not going to have these roles placed on me."
yes, and that is taken as a deep offense to these types of hierarchical men.
They won't hold women to standards,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
actually, what a lot of these men are really complaining about is like the women won't date me or they won't stay married to me. That's it.
Yes. So I'll carry on reading. So, I have no interest in political parties, left wing or right wing. I'm only linked to news ideas that are here to benefit men. Well, I'll just say I think the right wing have no useful ideas to benefit
Yes.
men. At least
We got to take over the left, basically. We got to
Yes.
become the left. We got to become the men's rights movement, and then we got to become the left,
yes,
basically. And we got to keep them like again. What's that image you was using? I want to look at that image quickly because
yes, this one.
I think you drew it, but I came up with the idea if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I fixed this image.
Yes, because anti-feminist, anti-racist, that framing is 100% deliberate. The anti-racist part. So anti-feminist, and I'm linking it to anti-racism,
Yes.
right? So feminism is reactionary, and I want to plant that idea in people's minds. So this is the correct framing, right here.
Yes. This is
In
the
my
correct
opinion.
message for we need to be showing to people.
Let's get back to the blog.
Yes. So, both wings belong to the same anti-male gynocentric birdie. So, even members of us were using the term gynocentric.
Yes.
So, one wing perpetuating misandry and expansion of female privilege, and the other promoting male disposability, male passivity, and apathy, and actively standing in the way of men's rights. When women start utilizing these privileges against men, both sides start pointing fingers at each other and whitewashing female behavior. One side telling men that it's not women exercising their privilege, just the capitalism and capitalist alienation, and other side saying it's just the leftists, communists, atheists, Jewish, globalist subversion, or just those elites. Those evil, satanic elites.
Let's pause. So that's still going on now. The Epstein files obsession. All these people are absolutely obsessed with Epstein. A lot of these channels. So I'm going to give you an example. Brian Bruletti's got a channel called The New Atlas. I've never heard him mention Epstein once.
No.
So his analysis is serious. There's other anti-war channels that go on about Epstein. Oh, this is the Epstein war, which is absolutely fucking ridiculous. Oh, this is a war to distract from the Epstein files, right? Which is completely fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like,
No.
you've got to live in how cuckoo land to believe that.
No, it's
Okay. So again, separate the serious people from the clowns. And the conspiracy theorists who believe in elites and pedo elites and all links to Epstein. If they believe this, they're clowns. They're not serious. They're just nutcases.
Yes. So, I'm tired of left-wingers complaining how women are oppressed because of the catcalling. So, men have to deal with genital mutilation, Me Too / false allegations, women having control over family unit, draft, affirmative action, male suicide rates, double standards in sentencing. But let's continue ignoring these issues and focus on helping women in discarding low-status men, because if the guy is not Brad Pitt, they might get annoyed like everyday person that has to deal with insults and annoying people. Hell, maybe we should start lynching men for catcalling and give them the treatment black men had in the past, while throwing the words like misogynist at men, just like the word was thrown at blacks. You know, the N word was thrown as blacks. So, also, I'm tired of right-wingers saying that only men are to be forced to die in draft and that boys' dream is to be raped by cougars while they ignore those boys that were raped and forced to pay child support and continue perpetuating double standards at sentencing at the expense of men. They will demand that it's a man's duty to prevent white genocide and to man up and start being responsible for others while they block alimony bills, promote the idea that women are natural caregivers and give in to the whims of women while saying that men who don't want to get married are like Marxists and that they're anti-family and anti-progeny. So in other words, they will ignore their own contributions to the anti-male climate and in fact that women can kick out the men out of the family unit and collect child support for the kids that the father doesn't get to see. Continue with their scapegoating and playing a lot of mental gymnastics. So, Pro-Male Collective should be focused on equal rights and fair treatment for men and use tools we have at our disposal. I don't care for a bunch of concerned trolls throwing their "you're just like the feminist SJW's" remarks. Women have been pushy and demanding and it works for them. When feminists demand free tampons as a medical necessity, other women mostly don't object to this. So if the nice words and pleas aren't working, but being pushy and demanding is, I'm not bothered by these comparisons. If we get results, if we need to demand from people to start acknowledging baby boys' humanity and staunchly defend their bodily autonomy and integrity while enduring comparisons to a group of people that relies on wonky conspiracy theory to push discriminatory quotas, then so be it. If slapping the greedy, entitled hands of women while demanding our rights and equality gets us comparisons to feminists who push for female birth control pill while objecting to male birth control pill, then so be it. If the need for acknowledging the fact that misinjury of face exists in humans without absolving women leads to us being labeled as misogynists, so be it. Sexism, distrust, jealousy, resent and envy, tease and denial, dressing provocatively and then bitching at those men that dare to look at you. These things are part of female nature, not caused and engineered by government, elites, or political ideologies. We need to acknowledge these things in order to cause cultural shift. Pejorative slurs, sexist ideas, and thought-terminating cliches like male sexist pigs, misogynists, and violent rapey men are just the manifestations of this problem. We need to
interject.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you why the Black Pill actually talked about this. The term rapey actually doesn't mean rape. It means rapey. It means like vaguely rapey, creepy. You might be a rapist, you might not. You give off that rapist vibe. That's what it means. So it's a very insidious, nasty weasel word. Yes.
Yes. It's meant to smear normal men. Yes. We need to raise awareness in order to cause that cultural shift. Then people will start acknowledging that using these words is like using the N-word.
Yes. I think this was before incel became a massive trend. I think the word incel was around back then, but it's like it wasn't so mainstream it was now.
I think it was really obscure.
Yeah.
This post was posted before. When was it posted, roughly?
I think we'll look at it again. We'll look at the end. It's got the date at the end.
All right.
Yeah. So, as for banning and censorship, not only do I support it for tactical reasons, to save us time and space, but I also think that there should be consensus on it in the pro-male community. I do not welcome hijackers, derailers, scam artists, stalkers, harassers and gaslighters, nor do I welcome anti-male behaviour, strawmanning, concern trolling and trolling in general.
We got stalker problems still. It's not serious. I think it's only got one right now, but we've had it in the past. So we got a weirdo white nationalist who keeps making new accounts to post on our Reddit. I think you've seen him.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen him, 0verride, but I have to just keep banning that person. So
I've seen. I don't know if. Yeah, I don't think I've seen any on Reddit. Yeah, not yet.
Yeah, but I have to keep banning him. Yeah.
Yes. So he accuses me of being anti-white and wanting to kill the white race off and other insane shit.
Oh no! You're right. I did see one. So that's the guy. Yeah. I did see one.
He does the one every day. He does loads.
So
he literally get his account banned. He just makes a new account He's really crazy.
Yes. So and I have to keep reporting him to Reddit. Don't know if it's gonna lead to anything.
He could probably just change your IP address, sadly, if you know how. So
Yeah. So I don't want people who aren't interested in engaging honestly, and I don't want people who place their obsessions over men's rights on my channel. If you don't share pro-male interests as your primary interest, then I would suggest to stay away from my channel. I don't welcome conspiracy theorists, right-wingers, libertarians, ANCAPs, anarchists, breeders, white nationalists, and any other type of racist ideologues. PUAs, tradcons, female validation addicts, and other people in groups that are obsessed with women, birth rates, religion, skin color, etc. Do not waste my time. I have no interest to read your conspiracy theories of any sort, nor do I share your interest in anti-statism, taxes, gold standard, so-called white genocide, or anti-Semitic prejudices. I don't want mentally ill people that scapegoat female behavior on other groups, whether it's elites, the banking dynasties, Jews, communists, atheists, etc. on my channel. Since YouTube tends to show only some comments unless the set to newest comments option is chosen, I'll delete any unrelated stuff like trolling comments, especially those toxic threads. Keep that in mind because YouTube was suppressing engagement for many years now.
I think it really kicked off in 2016.
Yeah.
Pretty bad.
One thing I would like to mention is that I had a guy from MGTOW community who briefly subbed and posted his comment on my first video saying, "Go your own way," before he unsubbed and deleted that comment, for which I'm glad. I'm not MGTOW nor do I support it. In fact, it's very opposite to the values I'm trying to promote. MGTOW promotes passivity and liberal individualism instead of pro-male collectivism and activism. Like one of the frequent commenters on a pro-male video said, I quote, MGTOW is a sour grapes movement for failed traditionalists who are withdrawing from society and hoarding resources because they can't get a woman or have been discarded by one.
Ira. That's
Yeah.
definitely him. He used to say stuff like that. He called out the MGTOW bullshit. Yes.
Yes. Good insight from Kyria then. So, most MGTOW don't really care about MGM or any other men's issues that falls out of the sexual realm, dating and mating, and they're too passive to do anything. A lot of them rationalize their passivity with collapse porn fantasy and rebuilding a so-called patriarchy. There's no such thing as a patriarch. It's a lie.
The thing is, if you're passive and you don't want to do anything now, you're not going to do anything when society collapse. The more organised will still rule over you. If you're disorganised, right, due to your individualism and your neurosis, you're going to be ruled over when society collapse. And it's not going to collapse anyway.
Yes. So, look, I want to shift focus on men and their issues, not waste my time on pointless talks centered around women, dating and mating, or the so-called wall. Nor do I care whether men has sex or not. I consider people hijacking the message of my videos very disrespectful, so if you intend to post these MGTOW memes, do not expect me to welcome you with open arms. Also, I don't want people with MGTOW in their username posting on my videos. If you post, I'll give you ultimatum to change your username before I block you from my channel. Those that watch YouTuber analyzing male slavery, his channel's gone. You can watch his videos on Pro-Male Archive. So, those that watch YouTuber analyzing male slavery will notice that my banning policy is very similar to his, so I will not waste my time going into more details. You can check out his videos. Anyway, I think this was clear enough. I want to help in creating pro-male frame of reference and contribute my part. Free speech doesn't mean that I owe you a platform or that YouTube private corporation owes you one. There are plenty of other channels, platforms, and spaces for others, but this one is a pro-male one. My doors are open for proactive pro-male men and closed for others. I'm not here to lick asses and make friends. I'm here to kick asses and take the fist right in the face of misandry. Yeah. because like the free speech concept is abused. It's got a
Yes.
specific definition in the United States. It just
Yes.
stops the government, the federal government, from dictating what you can say.
And these people ban you from their spaces right away. All
Yes.
the time. Like, there was some feminist trolls trying to like make free speech arguments on our podcast channel, right? So the disingenuous actors use that argument all the time.
So it's actually sucker men that fall for the free speech delusion and don't
Yes.
put up boundaries. That's what the free speech appeal is designed to do.
Yes.
So, anyway, below is an example of how pointless it is to engage MGTOWs. I've relabeled them as MGTOWs. We need to bypass and shun these men. Okay, can I just zoom in a bit further on this?
Yes.
Okay, I'll have to read this. So this is a comment section on YouTube. So, MechPara did a reply. You can't engineer this because men are individualistic and women are collective. MGTOW is the only framework that works. Many channels of information and many takes on the same subject. First, women must not be permitted on intactivism grounds in any instance because, like you said, they have no skin in the game. To add that they are all feminists and that they care less about harm towards boys, passive aggressiveness, just drop out of college and leave the... Okay.
So he's just talking about. I remember this guy talking about passive aggressiveness, just being MGTOW dropping out. Nonsense.
So, analyzing male slavery replied, MGTOW is the only way that works. Explain how MGTOW will get circumcision banned. Are you another MGTOW? So, MechPara replies, analyzing male slavery. MGTOW is a deliberate act of men retracting their resources. This is when they will listen. You are a fool to think a bunch of angry males will garner sympathy and action from society. We already tested for this. It doesn't work. All it does is get a backlash of shaming language co-signed by women who are at the top consumers and voters. Hit the books before coming at me with ad hominem, you fool. And analyzing male slavery leaves this reply. So, MGTOW is a deliberate act of men retracting their resources. So what? How will that tackle circumcision? Most MGTOWs are one blowjob away from bailing anyway. Low status men women do not want is not much of a strike. This is when they will listen. You are a fool to think a bunch of angry males will garner sympathy and action from society. So you are a twat and a tradcon if you think withdrawing resources will make women fall back in line. You have no resources to withdraw. Women have privileged access to education and the job market over men. So all it does is get a backlash of shaming language consigned by women who are the top consumers and voters. Hit the books before coming at me with ad hominem, you fool. Hit the books, mental defect? I'm much better read than you. You're just repeating turd-flinging monkey talking points about the vote that has nothing to do with anything. You do not know how government works if you think it just boils down to...
Yeah, the vote, probably. Yeah. So, weird coincidence, I'm dealing with someone who's talking about the vote in a Discord. So
Yeah, so these
Yeah.
talking points just keep returning. We always have to deal with them.
Leaders of state power have very little to do with elections and votes. There's bureaucrats and the lobbying groups that don't change when government parties change.
This is
Especially
when
in the UK.
Yeah. This is when it was written.
Yes.
Huh. Yeah, Rick, I just want to add a point here where, with regards to that comment section there, you can see some parallels that kind of disprove this idea, this very naive idea that you can just pull out and then something will happen. So one example would be games.
Yes.
So what has happened with the game industry? Go broke. How is that how is that materialized? How is that? What are we looking at right now?
Feminists control the gaming industry.
Yeah.
So completely, it's beyond profit. They don't care about profits. They'll burn it to the ground, and it's not burning to the ground, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So like, why does something like mixtape exist? For example, why do so many games it doesn't? There's There's some other, I don't need to go into details, but basically that's an example
Yes.
where it just doesn't, this idea of like, oh, I just won't give these games my money. That's not enough. That's
Yes.
simply not enough.
And also,
And
can I point out something as well? The
yeah,
circumcision thing is a non sequitur. It's actually psychopathic and obsessive. So we're talking about circumcision, right? Helpless baby boys crying and screaming and paying, right? Getting
yeah,
mutilated, and this guy's just going, "Go your own way, leave the day
yeah,
market. Women will fall back in line." So it's actually a non sequitur. It shows he doesn't give a shit about babies.
yeah. And even his point about economics, about how you can just pull out and then things will work out. That's not how the dynamics work. So I can give you another example, which is why does alimony still exist?
Yes.
The idea of alimony came about. The idea was actually to repay dowries.
Yes.
With industrialization, wages became more of the way that people made money, and that was generally men at the start,
Yes.
because they could go into the cities and stuff like that. So why did alimony laws exist? Why did they continue to exist? Women invented threat narratives and they wrote into the law that they still need to get paid alimony, even though they're not giving men any land to return.
Yes.
So that's the game you're playing. You're not playing an economics game.
Yes.
Yeah. So
And again, if women have got more social power and network better than men, they'll just get each other jobs and push them out of the
yeah,
job market.
which is what they do, right?
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, this could be another video about ESG and stuff. So
Yes.
yeah.
There's this, very deep topic. So
Like,
have we got any other links saved?
yeah, just for reference, override. So this blog post was written on June 24th, 2018. So that's 8 years ago now.
And it's very relevant. Still very
Because
relevant.
it's a consistent problem we have to deal with.
Yeah.
We have to deal with invaders and anti-male enforcers. Just
Yes.
trying to...
Even the dynamics are consistent, like what issues, how they're being phrased, what the shortcomings are. They're very similar, very, very similar.
I remember the turd flinging because turd flinging monkey's a moron in
Yes.
general, right? But he's talking point about he was obsessed with the female vote, and it's like no, female. It's nothing to do with the vote. Like feminists didn't take over power because of the vote. So it's just reductionist, simplistic, low IQ understanding of how governments work. Actually, so no, it doesn't matter if like
Yes.
50% of the voters are women or 55% of the voters are women. That's not the problem.
Like
Right.
women's power is how they got that vote to begin with, anyway.
And women were
Predating
getting
that.
prohibition, were bringing in prohibition even
Yeah.
without the vote.
Yes.
So it's irrelevant.
Yes. Okay, let's go to another post then. So,
Have we got to look through?
so
Yes,
there was this...
we've got to look at one of your posts
Yeah,
before we finish.
there was this one from the Black Pill about giving up on the pills, but do we want to read it?
So I'm just saying he's the original Black Pill label, but he dropped it because of the because basically he's so obscure. Even though he was the first one to have it, no one knew, and the Black Pill community came up with the Black Pill label, right, from the Red Pill label, and they're just wonky and lunatic with luxism and all other sorts of wacky shit and nihilism. Okay, so he had to drop the label, right? But this is actually the original Black Pill. So you say it's time to give up the pills. So even you can't reject the red pill concept by coming up with another pill to replace it, because the whole idea of pills is stupid anyway. It's not like normal speak. Like you have to have you're an ideology, label your ideology, make it clear what your ideology is. You don't need a fucking pill to label it, like black pill or yellow pill or pink pill or green pill or purple pill, or you know what I mean? It's stupid.
And all these ideologies are centered around eventually appealing to women, so they all fall short because of that.
And the whole pill label just makes people think that you're a fan of the Matrix film series.
Yes.
It's so makes you look ridiculous. So, yeah, I think we explained this. We don't need to read this, do we?
So let's look at forum post. No, we don't need to read it.
Okay,
You could just pause it and read it, because the entire thing was there.
fine. Yeah, there we go. Just pause for a moment and read it if you want. There it is.
Yes.
Okay, so
We're going to link to the archive link, by the way, if you want to do research on your own about the Black Pill blog, because he is worth remembering. He did contribute to the cause and help evolve our understanding of male issues. He helped me a lot. So I think, just out of gratitude, I want to make sure he's remembered.
yes,
Right?
yes. So, Override, since you joined us, you've been very excellent. Making a lot of posts about history and theory. So here's one. So, Obsession, the movie Obsession, feminists peddling domestic and sexual abuse against men. So, I'll read this. So, 6 days ago, I'm a little disappointed in the fact that we as a group still do not have any people willing to dig through disgusting feminist trash that is film. Aside from City Crusher, there needs to be more people who are willing and able to review products of the feminist zeitgeist and critique them.
Yeah.
So, while I have glanced through some snippets of the movie myself, I noticed a number of problematic elements that have not been discussed yet. So, if there are any actual enthusiasts of the film, especially of narrative, please consider this. This is well beyond my element. I avoid films because I've always found most, if not all films, problematic against men. But if we do not have anybody braving the trenches that is the entertainment industry, we as a movement will become blind and ill-equipped to counter the ever-evolving beast that is misandry. So,
I interject. We've got to have men willing to do it, but I'm not going to do it. Basically,
Yeah.
this is why we've got to grow the movement in general.
Yeah.
We need more people because there's going to be certain people who just do one task or certain tasks, right? And multitask. I do think there needs to be more culture coverage. So,
Yes.
but
yes.
it's a very big topic though because there's gaming, there's movies. Open source software is taken over by feminists as well, silently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Honestly, that's worthy of another video as well because I don't know enough about it. I think plenty of people don't. Open source in and of itself is quite a large topic.
Gamergate failing is very important as well.
Yes.
Gamergate got crushed because it was right wing,
Yes.
right wing losers.
It was I remember Gamergate. It was a pushback to feminist propaganda in gaming. It had completely wrong framing. They tried to say it was, ethics in game journalism. That was the problem. Not.
They actually said, I remember them saying, like, if we donate to this feminist charity that's been under attack from another feminist charity, we'll prove we're not misogynist and we'll out feminist the feminists. Like, completely misunderstanding how feminist power works.
Asmongold parrots that.
Yes.
So, yeah, there's all these jobs we need in the pro-male ideology, and not enough people to fill them. That's why we need a bigger movement, so we have more specialists to fill these tasks. So, below is a little post I attempted to drum up quickly about how obsession peddles domestic abuse, stalking, sexual abuse against men, and how the feminist dogma has potentially obscured this fact. Hoodwinking...
Again?
Yeah.
Because I know what this concept actually is probably based on. There's this concept called negotiating with patriarchy, right? And it excuses abusive female behaviour by saying negotiating with patriarchy. She's basically making they're terrorists because, first of all, there's no patriarchy to negotiate with, right? And it's obviously saying, they're being violent and abusive to negotiate for something in return, which is terrorism.
Yes.
Okay, so it's domestic terrorism. So it comes from the feminist concept of negotiating with patriarchy, which is actually a non sequitur. So if a woman can be violent for no reason whatsoever, they just go, she's negotiating with patriarchy. Non sequitur.
Yeah, I know, right? Imagine a neo-Nazi group just letting off a bomb in a church or a public place. They're just negotiating with the Zionist-occupied government, which again doesn't exist. It's a conspiracy theory.
Yes.
It's just like that.
Yeah.
So, hoodwinking us men into employing an almost defensive position against them instead of pinpointing the fundamental problem of this film. This film doesn't just paint men's desire for women as evil, but it also normalizes and attempts to sell the idea that men should be okay and happy with women who stalk and sexually abuse them and consider themselves unjustly lucky for having that happen to them. So, calling the abused the abuser. How Curry Barker's obsession pathologizes male trauma and excuses domestic abuse from women. Upon its release...
So the whole idea that she's trapped in her body and she's screaming, she can't get out, it's trying to be an analogy of saying this is how women are trapped in patriarchy. right? They're
Yeah.
not truly themselves. They're not free to be
The
themselves. So any
yeah.
PIV under a patriarchy is rape. So, this is because it comes from that. So these people that laugh at these radical feminist ideas, oh, they're just stupid, they're silly, no one believes them, they're just stupid women. No, it's for links in the culture. There was actually feminists who said all PIV, penis and vagina sex, is rape because women can't consent under a patriarchy. Yeah. So that the whole idea of this movie comes from that.
Yeah. They also there's a phrase. It's almost, I would almost class it as a dog whistle. It's called "passenger in my own body." That's what feminists love using as a theme, as a talking point. Amber Heard, for example, used that in her
Yes.
trial.
Yes.
So
She got that talking point from somewhere, didn't she? From other
From a
feminists.
movie. It's
Yeah,
from
but
a movie.
she got it
Yeah.
from but she got it from other feminists though. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
she was
Yeah.
obviously out talking to other feminists online, right,
Mm.
socialising with them, so they influence each other.
right. So upon its release, Cory Barker's psychological horror film Obsession was widely celebrated by critics as a feminist horror masterpiece and a scathing indictment of the nice guy trope. The mainstream narrative surrounding the film is clear cut. Bear is the ultimate Bear, the actor Michael Johnston, is the ultimate villain, an entitled incel who strips his childhood friend Nikki, Indy Neverati, of her bodily autonomy and consent by wishing for her love on a supernatural One Wish Willow. Sorry. However, beneath this fashionable ideological framing lies a deeply troubling subtext. By examining the narrative through the lens of domestic violence, psychological coercion, and the pathologization of male survival, a wildly different picture emerges. Obsession serves as a massive exercise in narrative gaslighting, depicting a man subjected to extreme physical, psychological, domestic, and sexual terror while demanding that the audience view him as the predator and his abuser as the sole tragic victim. So, first, the modern birth of a nation, Hollywood's history of aestheticized erasure. To fully understand how Obsession has been allowed to pass as a masterpiece of empowerment while depicting the systematic destruction of an abuse victim, we must look to the history of cinema. This is not the first time Hollywood has used groundbreaking aesthetic genius to package, sanitize, and celebrate a horrific lie. In 1915, D. W. Griffith released The Birth of a Nation. It was a technical marvel, pioneering cinematic grammar, cross-cutting, close-ups, and dramatic pacing. It changed filmmaking forever, an unparalleled artistic triumph even screened at the White House by Woodrow Wilson, who reportedly described it as like writing history with lightning. Beneath this virtuoso craft lay a venomous white supremacist text. The film relied on the black brute myth, pathologizing black men as hypersexual, predatory beasts threatening white innocence and female consent, while framing the Ku Klux Klan as heroic defenders of society. The aesthetic brilliance of the film was weaponized to blind the public to its profound moral rot, legitimizing decades of physical and structural violence.
I just want an example of a feminist movie that tricked me as a kid. It's Silence of the Lambs. That really hoodwinked me because I felt really sympathetic for Jodie Foster's character by being like overlooked by men and degraded by them, right, and not appreciated by them. And it's just bullshit basically. So that's a feminist movie. It's
Yeah.
also a turf movie in my opinion as well because of the main villain being transsexual.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So,
It's homophobic as well.
yes. Like,
Yeah.
so the villain is a man cross-dressing, essentially.
He's homosexual and he wants to be fucked like a woman, but he's victimizing women. It doesn't make sense. Homosexual serial killers don't go after women; they go after whoever. So serial killers go after their target of sexual desire, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so it actually doesn't make sense. There's no such serial killer like that.
Yeah.
Right, let's carry
So
on.
yeah, Obsession is the modern inverted successor to this legacy. Curry Barker's film is undisputedly well crafted. Just as Griffith used filmic genius to rewrite predators into heroes and victims into threats, Barker uses modern tropes to smuggle in a harrowing depiction and celebration of domestic captive abuse. By wrapping the story in the fashionable vocabulary of male entitlement, the film gaslights the audience into viewing a traumatized, physically assaulted, and sexually coerced man as a monster, while celebrating his female abuser as a tragic martyr of stolen consent. In other words, this is akin to terrorist supremacist propaganda.
Yes.
So, secondly, the involuntary enslavement fallacy, dismantling the predatory intent of a dollar store wish.
I just want to interject. You reject the whole premise of the movie on this alone. Like, women are allowed to make love potion wishes and not be deemed as
Yes.
like I was like unredeemably evil,
Yeah.
basically, because this is just a harmless, low status male, basically, and he's seen as scum beyond the pale. 'Cause he's
Yeah.
And
attracted to
Myers
women.
even mentioned that. He mentioned some movies as an example, but there's so many movies where
Yes.
you have a trope of teenage girls wishing for love potions or whatever else, like Harry Potter, for example,
Yes.
to ensnare
Yes.
the boy of their desires. You know?
Yes.
I mean, love potions are a very classic story trope.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
the foundational argument for Bear's status as a villain hinges on the idea that he actively chose to enslave Nikki. This argument demands that we retroactively apply supernatural logic to a character operating in a non-magical, real-world mindset. When Bear purchased the One Wish Willow, it is presented as a cheap plastic $6.99 novelty toy at the local crystal shop. In a rational modern world, no human being expects a plastic stick to actually harbor cosmic, reality-warping entities that can hijack a human soul. Bear's act of snapping the twig and making his desperate wish, I wish Nikki loved me more than anyone in the whole fucking world, was not a calculated act of magical kidnapping. It was a pathetic, low-stakes expression of pining and romantic rejection sensitivity.
Yeah.
To suggest that Bear is a predatory mastermind because a cheap toy actually worked is a massive narrative reach. Once the magic takes hold, Bear does not celebrate his enslavement of Nikki. Instead, he is immediately thrust into a waking, inescapable nightmare that he spends the rest of the runtime desperately trying to escape or undo. How dare he love someone? And how dare he covet someone? Does this baboon not know their place? I feel like we're being lectured by Fanny Kemble, as she has a plantation-owning husband whip us disgusting, violent men into shape. It's very demeaning and degrading, I gotta say
Yes.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
It shows you how hated men are, actually.
Mm.
So they're not even allowed to have they're not even allowed to love women and pine for them. It's disgusting.
Yes. So, even fantasies are not allowed, but we get movies being produced that just make us out as monsters. So, third, the love spell double standard, from girly mischief to masculine kidnapping. To understand the hypocrisy of how the film and its critics pathologize Bear's wish, one must examine the vast history of the love spell trope in pop culture and real-life feminine aesthetics. For decades, the desire to magically capture, ensnare, or manipulate a man's romantic interest has been framed as a harmless, cute, and entirely acceptable feminine behavior. Real-world witchcraft as consumerism. Across platforms like Etsy, Pinterest, and TikTok, thousands of women actively buy and sell obsession spells, love potions, and honey jars designed to explicitly strip a target man of his romantic free will. This is marketed under the aesthetic of girly manifestation and female empowerment. It is treated as a quirky, harmless spiritual hobby. The Harry Potter pass. In mainstream pop culture, the development of literal magical roofies is treated as a hilarious gag. In Harry Potter, schoolgirls openly purchase love potions from Weasley's wizard wheezes to slip into boys. When Romilda Vane laces chocolates with a love potion to ensnare Harry, and Ron accidentally consumes them, resulting in severe cognitive impairment, forced infatuation, and near-fatal poisoning, the narrative treats it as a humorous teenage mishap.
It's written by a feminist.
Yeah.
Let's make it clear.
J.K. Rowling.
Yes.
Yes, famous TERF as well. Harry Potter was toxic even before J.K. came out as a TERF. This proves it.
Yeah.
When a woman uses magical coercion to force a man to love her, i.e. a form of rape, society codes it as a quirky, desperate expression of infatuation. A funny ha-ha plotline about teenage pining. It isn't even limited to that. Remember, Netflix published a TV show called May December in 2023. What was that show about? A real-life incident where a woman statutorily raped a 12-year-old boy. They had kids together and everything, and the man today has even said that he felt coerced, i.e. raped. And the media machine made him feel that he was silly for feeling victimized, laughing my ass off. Same types of people here are moralizing about how bears are rapist. Remember that with Zionists and feminists, every accusation is a confession. You can say that about every type of bigotry.
Yes.
When Bear does the exact same thing that silly teenage girls did in Harry Potter by snapping a cheap novelty toy, the narrative and cultural commentary retroactively code his act as a violent assault equivalent to rape, genocide and pedophilia. The double standard is stark. A woman wishing to control a man's heart is a romantic comedy. A man
I just interject.
Yeah.
So the fact that women can enslave men via child support, make them pay and jump through hoops and treat their kids as hostages in return for the payment, right? That scene is okay.
Yeah.
Actually, that's far. So women do like equivalent actions, and that scene is okay because that's female supremacy.
Yeah.
Right? The female prerogative is female supremacy. Yes.
Yes.
So carry on. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So, a woman wishing to control a man's heart is a romantic comedy. A man wishing for the same is a crime of male entitlement that justifies his physical and psychological destruction. Well, I mean, it was never a comedy, really, if this is how they act a man in the role of using a love potion. Yeah.
Yes.
So... Fourth, textbook domestic violence, the empirical reality of female perpetrated coercion. So, if we strip away the supernatural framing and analyze the literal physical actions occurring on screen, the relationship between Nikki and Bear is a textbook depiction of severe escalating domestic abuse. Indeed, empirical data consistently shatters the myth that domestic coercion is a unidirectional male and female phenomenon. According to the groundbreaking national longitudinal study of adolescent health published in the American Journal of Public Health, Whitaker et al. 2007, in relationships characterized by non-reciprocal intimate partner violence, women were the sole perpetrators in over 70% of cases. Bear's horrifying captivity in obsession is not a bizarre supernatural anomaly. It is a direct, dramatic representation of a heavily suppressed, real-world statistical demographic. So, throughout the film, the possessed Nikki subjects Bear to a horrifying campaign of physical and psychological terror. So, extreme isolation. Nikki violently guards Bear from his social circle, ultimately murdering their mutual friends Ian and Sarah to ensure Bear has no external support network. Psychological gaslighting and instability. Nikki subjects Bear to erratic, terrifying outbursts, such as screaming hysterically and stabbing herself in the face with a broken bottle during a party. This forces Bear into a state of hypervigilance, walking on eggshells in his own home to prevent further violence.
Very accurate depiction of how borderline personality disorder women work. So it's like the movie's like trying to excuse them, actually.
So
Yeah, it is.
the film is a narrative attack on men in society in total.
It's not that. It's not just that. It's excusing violent women as well.
Yes.
Yes.
So it is,
Yeah.
yes. So, animal cruelty as coercion. In one of the film's most stomach-churning sequences, Nikki literally feeds Bear's dead cat to him. In real-world domestic abuse studies, the abuse or killing of a partner's pet is recognized as a primary tool of extreme psychological domination and terror. So, captivity and threat of death. Bear is effectively held hostage in his own home. He is trapped in a house with a homicidal maniac entity that peels the skin off their dead friend Sarah to wear it as a disguise. If these exact physical actions were committed by a male character against a female character, the film would be universally recognized as a harrowing thriller about a woman surviving domestic captivity. Yet because the perpetrator is a woman under a spell, the narrative refuses to validate Bear's trauma, framing his terror as nothing more than the inconvenience of his selfish fantasy. Even if Bear had committed all these acts under a spell instead, it would have never been pitched as a men's rights film. The people reacting to this film are just as big of a problem as the predatory director is. So, fifth point, the coercion paradigm, sexual abuse and the double standard of consent. So, a dominant talking point in reviews of Obsession is that because the real Nikki was trapped in a sunken place inside her body, every intimate or sexual encounter she had with Bear constituted sexual assault by Bear. This analysis establishes a massive, misandrist double standard regarding consent under coercion. The narrative entirely ignores the fact that Bear was also incapable of consenting. Bear's trapped in an intimate space with a hypersexual, violently psychotic entity that has already demonstrated a willingness to murder anyone who gets in her way. When a victim complies with the sexual demands of a partner out of absolute terror, that compliance is not consent. It is survival under duress. Women are more than happy to pull on this thread, but whether it be in real life or in fiction, men are the recipients of this abuse, and are never afforded this protection. Protection from being coerced under duress. By framing Bear as the sexual predator in this dynamic, the film guides the audience into ignoring the classic mechanic of sexual abuse against men. The movie implies that because Bear is a man, he must inherently want and enjoy the sexual attention of a beautiful woman, regardless of whether she is a violent, unpredictable entity who has held him psychologically hostage. So, sixth point, pathologizing survival, historical and cinematic precedents of male degradation. The moral climax of Obsession relies on the ultimate victim-blaming trope, demanding that the victim sacrifice their own life to atone for their abuse. When Bear seeks to help to reverse the curse, the retail clerk gives him a horrifying ultimatum. The only way to free Nikki is for Bear to die.
It's telling men to kill themselves,
Yes.
basically.
Yeah.
This erasure of female perpetrated abuse and the systemic pathologization of male survival is deeply rooted in our historical and cultural narratives. So the historical erasure of male manipulation. The romanticization of female-led domestic manipulation is a recurring historical strategy. For centuries, the domestic and psychological manipulation of young, inexperienced, or shy men has been historically rewritten to protect the female perpetrator. A prime historical example is the courtly narrative surrounding King Louis. What's that number? Sorry.
Just say King Louis.
Yeah,
It's Aaron
yeah.
Spencer in it. Yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
A,
Yeah.
a deeply insecure, socially isolated young man who is systematically managed, manipulated, and politically isolated by Marie Antoinette. While her historical legacy is routinely sanitized as that of a tragic, misunderstood victim of circumstance, her active role in the domestic coercion and eventual physical ruin of her husband is entirely erased.
He got him killed basically because she was an idiot.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I think that's King Louis XVI.
Yes.
So, the silencing of teenage sexual assault. The cultural blind spot regarding sexual violence against young boys remains incredibly stark. The late rap artist Tupac Shakur recounted in biographical interviews being sexually abused and groomed as a 14 or 15-year-old teenager by a much older female associate of his mother. Yet mainstream culture completely erased this early domestic and sexual trauma, preferring instead to pathologize Shakur as an inherently violent, hypersexualized male beast. By framing the victim of early adolescent abuse as a lifelong threat, the cultural establishment executed the exact same gaslighting maneuver we see in Obsession, converting a traumatized male youth into a predator to justify this systematic destruction. His systematic destruction. The cinematic ritual of male humiliation. This pattern has reached a fever pitch in modern cinema, where Hollywood happily depicts the graphic, non-consensual, physical and sexual degradation of broken men who dare to challenge unlivable conditions or seek basic human connection. In Todd Phillips' Joker, Folie à the ultimate psychological and emotional brokenness of Arthur Fleck is sealed through systemic, graphic, physical, and sexual abuse by Arkham prison guards. The narrative punishes Fleck for his desperate, broken search for love and justice, treating his physical degradation and ultimate disposal as a form of moral accountability.
So let me frame it this way: the director did a 180 and made Joker get raped to upset fans of the first movie. That's why that was done. Yeah.
Yes.
And that was burning profits to the ground. They must have known this wouldn't have been profitable, right? So that's just burning profits to the ground. Again, get woke, go broke's not a thing.
Yeah.
It showed, the feminist film industry just got to the Joker and overrided the director. So, so here we go. Obsession uses the exact same playbook. When Bear swallows the oxycodone pills in a desperate attempt to end the nightmare, only to panic and try to induce vomiting when faced with the terrifying reality of death, the film frames this as his ultimate cowardice and selfishness. Against the backdrop of male suicide, this film director and women as a whole are literally revealing themselves to be calling for male genocide. Israelis and feminists really have more in common than they like to publicly admit, calling for the perpetual victimization and genocide of the people that they are oppressing, harassing, and in this film's case as well, sexually abusing. It pathologizes a victim's basic, hardwired biological survival instinct. The movie demands Bear's literal death as the only acceptable form of accountability for a magical accident he did not understand, while completely absolving the physical perpetrator of the actual murders. Basically saying that the man, there's no redemption for the man.
He's scum.
Just move his existence. Just got to move himself. That's all. So, the seventh point. The architects of the gaslight. Cast, crew, and creative complicity. So this calculated inversion of trauma is not an accidental byproduct of a clumsy script. It is a deliberate, proudly championed thesis enacted by the film's creators and cast. To understand the depth of this moral failure, one must look at the specific creative decisions and statements made by those who brought Obsession to life. So, Curry Barker, the writer, director, and editor. Barker, a former YouTube sketch comedian, has admitted that during development, he actively rejected a $2 million offer to rewrite the script to make Bear a traditional hero. He chose instead to retain a narrative that systematically punishes Bear by prioritizing twisted ideas of the manosphere as his target.
You admit to this. You're not going to be gaslit about this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not about the money. It's about sending a message.
Yes.
Men
Yeah.
have to burn.
Yes.
Yes. Barker deliberately sacrificed the reality of male domestic trauma on the altar of cultural relevance.
I'd actually argue against that. It's not really cultural relevance because manosphere is really obscure. It's a feminist obsession,
Yes.
right? So, yeah.
His directing choices, prolonging scenes of Bear's terror for dark humor, reveal a filmmaker who treats the physical and sexual torture of a male lead as a punchline. Next is Michael Johnston, the actor of Bear. The moral failure extends directly to the cast. Johnston, who plays Bear, has actively participated in the public victim blaming of his own character. In interviews, Johnston described Bear's biological panic when trying to vomit the lethal pills as the ultimate proof of his unredeemable nature. It was the one thing that he could have done to redeem himself.
This is Nazi level because that's a trope Goebbels put in these propaganda movies. There was this movie he made about a Jewish seducer of women, right? He took advantage of them, and when he's been burnt to death, he's like begging for mercy, and he's meant to be portrayed as cowardly. So this is how much they hate women, men. I mean, how much they hate men.
You know what I think? I like to imagine Bear now as this male feminist actor, and as the male feminist is now torturing himself.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
I can't redeem myself.
Yes.
That would be more, yeah.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do it. I think that perfectly sums up who he is. Through this statement, Johnson normalizes the horrifying premise that an abuse victim's failure to successfully commit suicide is a moral failing rather than a basic survival instinct. By framing Bear as selfish for wanting to live, Johnston serves as an active agent in the film's campaign of psychological gaslighting. So, the other actor is Indy Navarrete, who plays Nikki. Celebrated by critics for astonishing, chillingly good performance, Navarrete's portrayal of Freaky Nikki is routinely framed as an empowering, preternatural showcase of female agency. Yet this praise completely erases the reality of her character's actions. Navarrete's character murders her friends, slaughters a pet, and violently imprisons her partner. To celebrate this as a triumph of female performance while ignoring the horrific, real-world domestic violence mechanics it represents is to participate in the total erasure of male abuse victims.
I'm just gonna make a point here. Deep down, all these feminists know women are abusive in relationships. That's why they had to come up with the concept of negotiating with patriarchy. Right, so excuse it.
I gotta say as well, this celebration for this female character, it's like when feminists celebrate real life female serial killers.
Elizabeth Barthy was celebrated in a documentary as an empowered woman.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So remember my post about knowing your players? This is what I would hope from someone who would review movies. Identify the group that is dehumanizing you, calling for your death, depicting sexual assault and rape scenes of your group as a means to punish you. Identifying the source of the problem is the first step to making the world a better place for men. We cannot be allowing this sort of rhetoric to stand. If not this time, the next opportunity that arises, we must dust this archive off and present it to potential supporters of our cause. So, here's the 8th point. The financial cartel, commodifying trauma for the Midnight Madness bidding war. So behind the creative team stands a predatory financial apparatus that recognized the immense profitability of marketing male trauma as a feminist victory. Obsession is a monument to how corporate Hollywood exploits social anxieties for unprecedented profit margins. The film was shot as an independent project on a microscopic budget of just $750K under the Midnight Madness banner. A frenzied corporate bidding war ensued. Focus Features ultimately acquired the distribution rights for a staggering $14 to $15 million, the highest price commanded by a genre film in TIFF history. Soon after, Jason Blum boarded the project as an executive producer under Blumhouse Productions, while Universal Pictures took over international distribution. For these corporate giants, the film's graphic depictions of pet slaughter, captivity, and psychological torture were not a moral concern. They were a goldmine of opportunity. By branding the movie as a scathing indictment of male entitlement, the financial cartel successfully transformed the graphic thriller about captive domestic abuse into a highly marketable, culturally sanctioned product. So this transaction allowed Jason Blum to secure a lucrative $17 million payout, while the film went on to gross over $430 million globally.
So feminist women liked it, and they networked and they gossiped and how good it was and got others to see it. So it works.
Yeah.
Yes.
The corporate enablers, including production partners Capstone Studios and T-Shop Productions, proved that in modern cinema there is no boundary to the exploitation of domestic abuse, provided the victim is a man and the trauma can be repackaged under fashionable ideological banners. So the 9th point here, the climax and the triumph of narrative gaslighting. So the final act of obsession completes the narrative gaslighting of the audience. After Bear panics and tries to throw up the pills, he is suddenly hit by a counter curse. Nikki has used the final One Wish Willow to force Bear to love her as intensely as she loves him. Bear's autonomy is violently stripped away in his final moments. He is hollowed out, forced to smile and embrace his abuser, and dies of an overdose in her arms. Except for the fact, of course, that Bear never had any autonomy over his life. Bear was akin to a slave, wishing for justice in this world, wishing for some solace in a cruel, lonely world. And like the slave owners the feminists are, they pathologized and thoroughly lynched and punished the slave, just as Caroline Bryant did to Emmett Till for existing as a black boy in her vicinity. Because Bear dies, the curse is instantly lifted. The real Nikki wakes up, surrounded by the bodies of her best friends, and begins to scream in horror. The movie ends on her anguish, expecting the audience to weep for her because she has to live with the trauma of witnessing these murders. This is the ultimate insult to the viewer's intelligence. Bear is dead. His friends are dead. His cat is dead. He was subjected to psychological and physical torture, sexually coerced, and ultimately stripped of his mind and life. Yet the film positions the physical perpetrator of the carnage, who is Nikki, as the sole tragic survivor, completely erasing Bear's victimhood. Now imagine reality. Imagine just how it would feel for women, for all the alimony and child support that they had coerced out of men for centuries, to be forcefully repaid to men, until they met a similar fate to Bear. Imagine how it would feel to have all the money and power that women had accumulated through coercion and force to be forcefully repaid back to men. Just imagine. The reason why colonizers and supremacists dominate media is because to maintain power over the colonized, they must control their minds. So whether Nikki was on her pills or not, Bear was never in control. That is what this movie is ultimately about. This movie is about telling the slaves that they have under their control, even in fiction, you will lose. Even with power, you will be enslaved. Keep your head down, and don't you ever dream of my crown. That is what obsession is. A pillaging, public lashing on the cultural plantation, executed to remind the captives exactly who owns the field. So, parallels with other shows. So many shows have pathologized male desire. The show Adventure Time for example, made Finn become curiously hateful and problematic in his relationship with the Flame Princess, and made her end up getting into fights for his own amusement, amongst other things. Finn almost became a passenger in his own body. I was horrified by what the show was depicting him as here. It later got brought to my attention that the entire staff were essentially feminist scum who hated boys and men, and this explains so much else. Finn also later gets raped in a cartoon show about boys who explore the world. Finn is effectively neutered as a man and not allowed to demonstrate any form of love or affection unless they are approved of by a female character. All the male characters, for the most part, are cast as hateful, unreliable, unintelligent creatures, while the female characters in Adventure Time are almost entirely good and nuanced characters, who are even permitted to engage in sexual assault and rape at times. The men aren't allowed to express any form of frustration against the women whatsoever.
So this is not just one-off. This happens in comics as well. Like Nightwing was raped by a female character, and like, the feminist author said it wasn't rape, right? So she wrote the rape and thought it was okay, basically.
Yeah. Very common pattern, especially with feminists in charge of our media. So the parallels between fiction and reality are clear. This is what feminists want to be done to boys and men. They want men to be raped and punished in the name of poetic justice, just like in the Joker 2. They want men to die en masse for them as a form of romantic gesture, like in the Titanic or the White Feather movement. So in a movie and in real life.
Yes.
So the conclusion is the players behind this projection. We must remember the names of the entities that happily package and profit from the systematic degradation of male victims. Focus Features and Universal Pictures, the distribution arms that recognize the massive profit margins of turning a graphic domestic captivity nightmare into a highly marketable, culturally sanctioned feminist victory. Blumhouse Productions and Capstone Studios, the corporate engines that funded, elevated, and distributed a film where the physical and sexual torture of a male lead is treated as a narrative punchline and a tool for moral purification. The Festival Gatekeepers, that's TIFF and SXXSW. The prestigious tastemakers who provide the elite intellectual cover necessary to normalize films that weaponize technical virtuosity to mask the non-consensual torture of male victims. The creative collaborators, like Barker, Johnston, and Navarrete. The writer, director, and cast who actively participated in the public victim blaming of their own characters, normalizing the premise that a male victim's survival instinct is a moral failing and his forced suicide is a form of justice. We must stop letting aesthetic genius serve as a shield for moral bankruptcy. If we continue to remain silent, we validate a culture that actively repackages male trauma as male entitlement to satisfy a fashionable ideological narrative. The ledger is open. The players are named. The choice of where we direct our attention, our respect, and our capital is entirely ours. And that's the post.
Yes, very, very good deconstruction there of misandry, cultural misandry. So this is why feminists have taken over Hollywood.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So it works actually, and the thing is, a lot of feminists who like this move, a lot of men who like this movie, are not even of feminists; they're just man haters. It's right. So unfortunately, like Rob Iger liked this movie, so that proves he's a man hater.
God.
So,
and the film is just directed torture against men, deliberate torture aimed at men, like cultural, psychological torture.
Yeah.
So, since we had you on board, 0verride, you've done amazing write-ups like this. Just
Thanks. Thank you.
like deconstructing the temperance movement
Yes.
and colonialism and the
Yes.
women behind behind all of it.
All these historical feminist lies. I'm not going to call them myths. These feminist lies about history. It's like it's an unlimitedist test for fake MRAs. Like women in the past were oppressed, right? Women, blah blah blah, and like, you can never convince them otherwise, right?
Yeah.
That's a massive red flag that gets on my fucking nerves. The feminists are lying about absolutely everything right now. It's an obvious leap in logic to assume they're lying about the past as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They believe in, like, with colonialism, it's I've talked about it a number of times, but the honest truth is that it deserves to be thoroughly deconstructed, precisely because honestly in every other group
Yeah.
they have two options because they don't analyze it, which is they allow to be like for male groups they allow themselves to be chastised because colonialism is cast in conventional history is just cast as always a male thing.
Yeah.
It was a male driven thing. On or you have psychopaths who go, yeah, actually that was based,
Yes.
like it's a natural thing.
Yes.
But even as I've mentioned before, that colonialism's history has two parts. There's almost always two parts to colonialism, and those two parts don't naturally flow if you tell me men were in charge. Doesn't make sense. So like when men get deselected and they go to other countries, technically, if you want to argue, you could say, oh, that's colonialism. Yeah, that's like the first part. But why are these men deselected? You just removed the starting point of it. And even in my older posts, I failed to mention some things. Like I realized later that women actually were investing in colonial shipping routes.
Yes.
So it wasn't just, oh, I deselected you and then you just by osmosis went to India. No, they invested in these things.
Yes.
They had no livelihood. Where were they going to work?
And can I make another thing? Is like, so the
Yeah.
princes and principalities and leaders who included with the British and who were against other princes who weren't, right? Their behaviour was to get selected as well, to get status.
Yeah.
But sellouts were doing it to gain status. They were probably more sexually successful than the ones who weren't sellouts and got conquered.
Yeah, and I mean, throughout history, you will see all this reality. Like with America, even when you look at the temperance movement, what were the class of women who were usually in America in the 1800s? What was the status of the men who were in saloons who were supposedly abusing their wives? They were single. They were low status working class men who were on the frontier.
Yes.
So all these things deserve debunking. Otherwise, you get feminists who just get an automatic win because
yes, it's all about framing. I'm going to have to make this a rule because the default assumption should be any feminist claim about history, female oppression, should be disbelieved unless there's evidence, good evidence to support it, not feminist evidence to support it. And there's no feminist evidence to support it, right? It never happened. There's no good evidence to support it's never happened. So yeah, because it's really frustrating. It's like, again, feminists lie all the time, or when they tell the truth, it's out of context.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no way. The thing is, there's another thing is unity is important. Because another example why men need to have an ideological unity. India could not have been conquered if it was unified, right?
Yes.
If it was unified, if they had like a national ideology, so this is India, fuck off British. British will never be able to conquer them at all. 'Cause the British weren't that much more technically advanced. Even if you've got like metal smelting techniques from India, right? They actually learnt things from them as well, but they were more organised actually, and they were more ruthless, and that's when the Indians got crushed and colonised.
Yes.
Right. So it's like feminism. Like a small group colonises a bewildered, uncoordinated larger group. The feminists are more coordinated, and imperialists are more coordinated.
Yes, and unfortunately, even the fact that we have so many feminist outcries about India is not a reflection of anything that feminists are saying. It simply reflects that feminists have organized and consolidated power in those countries really well, Actually more accurate. So with India, all the talking points, that's because feminists have colonized India so well, and it actually lends itself back to when they were actually colonized, because women, mem sahibs, they were instrumental in India being colonized. And then the same thing with South Africa, why you see such high rape numbers. It's because feminists have consolidated power, and they've matured the apparatus to classify what's rape, for example. And that's why you see high numbers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I think we've talked about the promo ideology. There's so much more we could talk about, but it'll go on forever because there's a long history. A lot of it's
Yes.
blurred in my memory, right, as well.
Yeah.
But a lot. So the blog, because there was there was the movement before the blog, right, and then there's the blog, and there's YouTube videos, and now there's a third wave, which is off. So yeah, on the Discord, we want to carry on growing, and we got plans about eventually we want a real life organisation in a country somewhere or in multiple countries, but that's quite a way off because you need enough people in a country to do that, right? To
Yeah.
organise, but that's the long term goal. So it's just to get more organised, more to like set the foundation more rigidly, right? Get the dogma founded. I know it's got negative connotations, but dogma's not necessarily bad. You have a core ideology, you've got goals, you've got an organisation, and then it grows basically, and then we can try and change the zeitgeist. Yeah. So
Yeah.
hopefully, maybe one day we'll take over an internet platform and make it pro male. Who knows?
Yeah.
Like we take over YouTube, and then we
Oh,
algorithmically
yeah.
suppress the feminists and boost ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, of course, I'd love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lesson I've come to internalize with the Promel Collective and interacting in online spaces. Like, success is about who controls the space.
Yes.
Because we get banned in
Yes.
spaces we don't control, even when we
Yes.
don't break any official rules.
Yes.
Mm.
So,
Yes.
Yeah.
And the copers and losers in the men's rights movement and in Gamergate, they want to attract females, even feminist women into the movement. They're just losers, man.
Yeah.
They either become marginalised or they get co-opted and taken over.
these men need self-respect. Beyond, like,
Self-awareness.
yes.
Yeah, they lack self-awareness, unfortunately. So
Yes.
I think that's everything. I think it's going to be quite a long video. So have you got anything else to say before we wrap it up?
No more. Yeah, I'm good.
No, then I pretty much think we
All
can wrap it up. So that was our interview with Override, and
Yeah.
a refreshing look at some of our PMC history, ProMel history.
Yes. And this is podcast number 6, by the way. I forgot to say that at the start, but okay, I'll say it
Yeah.
now. Yes.
So this is the ProMel Collective podcast episode number 6. So thank you all for listening. I'm signing out. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.